Hello there. Today we're going to talk about the Poly One Touch Join service. So this is a free service for Poly endpoints to use. And I'm going to show you how to configure it and how it's used. You walk into a conference room and you can just walk up and just hit the join button on a meeting invite that's on the screen. And you don't have to be concerned whether it's a Zoom call, a Teams with RealConnect or WebEx or something else. You just click that button. So that one happened to be a Zoom meeting. Maybe the next call of the day, I click on that and then, I don't have to be concerned with what platform it is. I just bring up the call as a user, and this one happens to be a Teams call using our RealConnect. And same thing for pretty much all of the popular video as a service. So I have over here a WebEx call, could be Bluejeans, could be RingCentral, Starleaf, there's a bunch of others. So it's a very simple one-touch join experience. So number one, how you get it is, so it is a cloud service and it's free, but the best way to get it is to order. We have a $0 SKU for it. So let me just pull that up here. So if you see here, here's the $0 SKU that triggers getting this set up for you. And what happens in the background is one thing that happens is when you order it, we'll take the email that you order with, and we will give access to that email into our Cloud One Touch Dial portal. It's basically a calendar proxy function. So here's an example of a Zoom meeting. So if you have the Zoom CRC license, which is an add-on from Zoom, then your Zoom invites will all have this extra SIP dial string added in, as well as H323 IP addresses. So this is added in, and what our service does, the Cloud One Touch Dial, is it's monitoring your room mailboxes, looking for a dial string from any of these popular video services like Zoom, like Bluejeans, WebEx, all of them. So if it sees one, then it gives you the simple join button, so you don't have to actually dial any of these digits, no passcode, no pound sign, it just dials through. So that's the capability. This is what it looks like in Zoom. In the case of Teams, you need a CVI, a cloud video interop, like Poly RealConnect. And if you do, then your Teams meetings have the SIP dial string added to them. And that's what our Cloud One Touch Dial service is monitoring the mailbox. If it sees an invitation come in with a dial string that looks like this, we know, okay, that's RealConnect for Teams, and we'll give you a simple join button to join. So this is the portal used to actually integrate it with your calendaring. And if you notice, I get an error here. It says you have not been granted access to One Touch Dial. Please contact support. It does have to be a global admin account to get access. But if you order the $0 SKU, then this should have happened automatically, and you shouldn't have to do this. But I just wanted to show you that you could run into this. To get into it, you need an Office 365 account or G Suite account that we have enabled. I'm going to open up a brand new incognito window here and do it here so I can actually log into the right account, one that I know has been granted access. So I'll say sign in. And so you can sign in with Google G Suite or Microsoft Office 365 single sign-in. So I'll say Microsoft, and I'm going to use my admin. You have to be a global admin, so you got to use that to log in. So I'm going to log into the portal. So here is the portal for Cloud One Touch Dial. So the first time you set this up, you have to integrate this with your calendaring. And the reason is our Cloud One Touch Dial service needs to see your room mailboxes, invites coming in on that mailbox. So you've set up a room account for your system, and it's usually the name of the conference room itself. But this actually, you have to connect it to integrate them together. So if I go to calendars, this is where you can connect them. So right now I don't have it connected to any calendaring at all. So I can connect it to Office 365, or this is Exchange on-prem, or this third option here is Google G Suite if you want to use that. So I'm going to use Office 365 for this example, and I'm going to say connect. So you'll see that there's two different ways that you can choose to integrate your enterprise calendaring with our Cloud One Touch dial. So one is just by application. So as a global Exchange admin, I can just connect this as an application. It's an Azure application for Poly Cloud One Touch dial. And that would just allow our system access to all the mailboxes, even though the only ones that we need are your room systems, so that we can have reviewer rights to see those mailboxes. The other option is by service account. So if you prefer, you can create a service account that you then give the service account you create reviewer access to your room mailboxes. So you can do it either way. And even with the application option, it may sound a little intimidating to give our Azure app access to all of your mailboxes. So what you could do if you choose the application route is you can limit that down if you want. Our Poly Cloud One Touch dial has a particular Azure ID, application ID, and you can limit that access to only room systems if you want. But just to make this simple on the example, I'm going to first show you as an application, and then I'll show you service account. So I'll say connect as an application, and it'll prompt me for the admin. So I have to be global admin, Exchange admin. So I'll choose that option, and it's going to make me say, this is okay, a consent. So and it tells me what it's going to do, read calendars, no writing, just reading calendars. So I'll say accept, and it's going to go ahead and connect to integrate our Cloud One Touch dial with the mailboxes on that Office 365 tenant. So it is done. So as of right now, if I left it as is, our cloud app does have access to all of your mailbox reviewer rights. If you want to limit that, you can do that. And the help for this is all right here. So if you click help, and you can see what the different options are, and even shows you the commands to create your room mailbox and stuff. So as an example, if I say, look at the documentation for creating it as an application, it shows me how to do that. If I want to limit that access, as I was talking about, you can create groups for your room mailboxes and do it that way, or you can do it with a service account. So the one mailbox that you are definitely going to have to create in all cases is a room mailbox, right? So for the room itself, you want to make sure that when you walk in the conference room, you don't want people to have to log in as themselves into the room. No, we definitely don't want to do that. You want to be already logged in, have the system logged in with its own mailbox, and that mailbox is what people are going to use to actually invite you to the meeting. So if I have a meeting here and I want to invite a conference room, I can go to locations and type the name of a room, and that will add it in. So that's what I mean by room mailbox. It's a room resource account. It doesn't use a Microsoft license. It's just a free resource account, and that's what allows you to just type it in as a location. So this gives you the steps to create the room mailbox with PowerShell if you want. And as far as integrating this, if you want to use the service account method, then it shows you the example of how you create a new service account and give that service account access to your room mailboxes. So that's how that looks. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm actually going to disconnect this because I want to show you an example of how you would instead use a service account. So I've created a service account. I've already done it, using that help I just showed you. So I've created it using, this command that came right out of the help, just, substituted in my actual user. So I created that service account, which is a free, it doesn't cost anything to create a service account. And so this time I'm going to connect this cloud portal using the service account method. So I'll say connect again. So this time I'm going to say connect with service account. So it's a little different. So it's going to ask me what the service, I got to log in tell it what that service count is. So the one I created is called OTD at blah, 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 blah. So I will connect with that. So it's now going to integrate to my Office 365 tenant, to that mailbox, to that service count, I should say. So this service count OTD is created and it's integrated here. And I've given reviewer access to the service count for only my room mailboxes. So that kind of limits things and keeps the scope down. So now this is done. And if I want, I can run a quick test to make sure that connectivity is there. I can do that from here. But I'm just going to go to devices. I'm just going to pull this one out because that wasn't a good example. But so when you come here, it's going to be blank. So when you first log in here, it'll be blank. And you just have to do this for each one of your Poly endpoints. So it could be an older generation group series, or it could be a newer Studio X or G7500 or Trio. So I'm going to say connect a device. In this case, I'm going to use a Poly Studio X30 and an X50 I'm going to connect. So you're going to choose Poly Group as the device, and you do see a picture of the Studio X here and a G7500. So I will click that and then tell it the actual room mailbox. So you created a mailbox for that room. It's probably, conference room A at yourcompany.com or whatever that is. So I'm going to say, I'm going to do my X50 room that I have here. So I have that, and I'll call this conference room A. So I have that, and I'm going to say create. So what our Cloud One Touch Dial service just did is it's actually generated on the fly. It's generated proxied credentials for the calendar for this particular endpoint. So I'm going to take what it's created here, and that's what I'm going to actually put into the endpoint itself for its calendar. So this was the X50. So I'll say copy. So I have this user, and then I'm going to log into the into my X50, which I have over here. So here's my X50. So I'll log into it from the web interface, and I'll go down to servers, and the Poly endpoints all have an Exchange client built right into it. So when you first come here, it's going to be disabled if you've never enabled it before. So you click enable, pop that in there, and then you're going to put in the credentials that you got from the Cloud One Touch Dial server. So I got that username. You're going to use that as the email, and you're also going to use that as the username. For domain, you're going to type in OTD. And the password, I'm going to paste that from here as well. So I'll paste that in. And then here's the key is for Exchange server, this is the key piece. For Exchange server, I'm not going to point directly to Microsoft for the mailbox. Instead, I'm going to point to the Poly Cloud One Touch Join portal. And that portal then connects to your mailbox. So you see that's how we get inserted in between your endpoint and your mailbox for that endpoint. Is with this, right? By pointing to otd.plcm.vc. So I'll say connect, I'll say save, I should say. And so that's going to connect, and it might take, up to maybe 30 seconds in some cases for it to connect. It might come up and say failed initially, and then it'll kind of fix itself. So this is now going to be configured here. So I showed you here how you would do it with the web interface. So I'm going to show you now how you would do the same thing using our Lens centralized management. So if you don't want to use the web interface to configure these, you can just do it with Lens. So I have a second device, which is an X30. So I'm going to go ahead and create that device. So I'm going to go back here to the portal, and you'll see this is still cooking in the background. Sometimes it takes a little while for it to finish. So I'm going to go to devices, and I'm going to say connect a new device. And this time I'm going to add my X30. And I'm going to call that conference room B. So maybe it's real mailbox is probably like conference room B at yourcompany.com. So I'll say create. So once again, it's created unique proxied credentials for my Studio X30. So I'm going to copy that. And this time I'm going to use Lens, our centralized management, to enter that information in. So, so I'm going to come here on Lens. This is my Studio X30. I've scrolled down to under servers to calendaring, and here's the calendar configuration. So I'll paste that in as the email and also the username, and OTD is what you're typing in as the domain and the password. So I'll copy that from here and I will hit paste. That looks good to me. So I'm going to say save or apply. So this is how you would configure the calendar client on a Poly device using centralized management, which is lens.poly.com. So Lens is free to use for Poly endpoints. You can just go to lens.poly.com to go ahead and configure your own, create an account, I should say, with single sign-in and then you'd be able to manage your Poly endpoints from there. So that is how Poly Cloud One Touch Dial works.